Mike Bohn here at the UFC X Fan Festival with Bo Nickal, who is fresh off some big news, man. It just comes out, today. Kind of some stuff leaked earlier in the week that you were going to be on Dana White's Contender series coming up this season. Just tell me how this all came about and how exciting this is.
Man, I'm super excited, super pumped up about the opportunity. Pretty much after my pro debut, the UFC was calling the next morning and wanted to, work out a deal with me. So I expected it to kind of happen a little slower, get 3 or 4 or 5 fights on the regional scene, but they saw what I could do and wanted to bring me on right away. So I'm ready to go, and I'm just excited for the opportunity.
Yeah, it's so interesting in this era, right? Like, there's so many organizations, PFL, Bellator, they're scooping up guys that are 0-0, things like that. Yeah. We don't see the UFC do this quite as often, though. Obviously, the Contender series is a good gateway to do that, to not bringing them right in. Is this what I know you said thought you'd have some more fights, but when that call did come, were you surprised at all, or was this kind of expected in a way?
I guess I was somewhat surprised, but after I knocked the dude out and just showed off my striking, I thought that was a possibility. Obviously I had every other organization. They've been calling me for a year already, so to have the UFC kind of come in at this point, still early in my career, was really cool, really exciting. And hindsight, I expected it to happen a little later, but looking back, it doesn't surprise me because of how fast I've developed in the sport.
Is this where you ultimately want to be? I mean, being a Bellator fighter is great at PFL, there's upside, but the UFC obviously has that cachet where you were thinking of yourself as an MMA fighter. Was it always UFC?
It was always the UFC. I mean, obviously considered our options, and I think, looked at different paths, but for me, the goal is to be the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, and to do that, I have to be in the UFC. So that's always been the goal for me, the dream for me, and I'm just excited to kind of start this off with Dana White's Contender series, and just have my first kind of taste of what it's like to be a fighter in the UFC.
Do you know the date or opponent yet?
Yeah, I'll be fighting August 9th. My opponent's Zach Borrego. He's a 2-0 pro, so I'm just excited to have the opportunity. It's going to be a good fight, and I'm looking to finish this dude in spectacular fashion.
Do you think it's just going to be the one fight? I mean, I know sometimes on Contender Series, Dana's had people fight twice, or things like that. Do you think it's just going to be the one and done here?
I want to stay active, so I'm going to do whatever I need to do to stay active. Obviously, the Contender Series runs through September, so I could fight again in September and just keep it rolling. So that to me is an option, and but if I do 2 fights in Contender Series, after that it'll be immediately into the UFC.
Do you think your obviously skill set, it showed for itself. We know your background and everything. You obviously feel like it's UFC ready right now. We don't see guys with this little experience getting in there. It's the big stage.
I think 2 things. One, I don't have the same approach as a lot of fighters. A lot of fighters are doing a lot of different things. They're in camp, they're training for the fight, they're out of camp, they're on the beach doing whatever. I'm fully committed to this. I'm a true professional. I've been basically competing as a professional since I was 18 years old when I first got to Penn State in college. My goal was to be an NCAA champion, and everything that I did aligned with that. And so, for my fighting career, I've been training 10, 11 months, but every single thing I've done for 10, 11 months aligns with that. And that's how I'll continue to train and compete and perform until I decide to retire. And so I think, with that being said, I can develop a lot faster than people. I think I have natural athletic ability that a lot of people don't have, and obviously the foundation that I do. So there's a lot of quick improvements and things that I can do things that I do that help me get better a lot faster. I'm putting more time in every day than anybody else. So with that being said, whatever opportunity I'm presented with, I'll make the most of it.
And you say you want to be the #1 pound-for-pound fighter. People might hear that and say the guy has one fight. It's a bold thing to put out there right now. Where does that confidence come from that you're willing to put yourself out there like this? Because people will criticize you for having that much bravado at this stage in your career.
Yeah, I don't really care if they criticize me. That doesn't bother me at all, because their opinion has no factor in my life. That's my goal, and that's what it is. I don't know why anybody would be upset about that. If somebody says they want to go make $1 million and they work at Burger King, I'm not going to be upset with that. Do your thing, go grind, go do it. And for me, saying that comes from the fact that I know the work that I put in, I know the time I put into this sport and what I'm capable of. So why would I sell myself short in my goals. Why would I say, oh, I just want to fight in the UFC and maybe like, you know, win 75% of my fights? Like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. So, you know, for me, I'm going to set my goals as high as I can. And being the pound for pound fighter and pound for pound #1 fighter in the world, in my mind, is the highest level of the sport, and it's also achievable for me. Am I the pound for pound fighter, #1 fighter in the world right now? No. Will I be in a year? No. Will I be in 2 years? Maybe. No, probably not. But in 3-4 years, like, that's where I see myself. And so I'm not going to be unreasonable about this and overestimate myself right now. Am I ready to compete with the top 5 guys in the division or fight for a UFC title? No, I've been training 10 months. But after, you know, I spent 2 years training, we'll see where I'm at. We'll see where I progress and how I develop. And I know where I'm going to be. And I think the more fights I get, the more I'm able to perform in front of people, they'll start seeing that. And by the end of my career, everybody will know that it's that I'm undoubtedly that I achieved what I set out to do.
I guess just last thing, you know, someone might look at an Aaron Pico as like a cautionary tale for someone in your position. I see, you know, some parallels here. What do you think is the difference between yourself and someone like him?
Man, I love Aaron. I've known Aaron since we were kids, right? Like, we competed on national teams together, wrestled in the same tournaments. Like, we've been roommates on multiple trips. So I think obviously his career didn't start out the way he wanted it to. 3-3 after 6 didn't look so great. So he definitely was probably, I think he would agree that he was pushed a little early, right? Like, you know, he could have taken it a little slower and developed more. But I think at the end of the day, he's happy with where his career's at right now. You know, he's now, I think, maybe 10-3 or something like that, and going to be challenging for a Bellator title here soon. So everybody has their own path, and I think to compare myself and Aaron is fair, right? Like, we come from strong wrestling backgrounds. We're being pushed quickly. I think Aaron, the difference is Aaron was maybe 19 at the time. I'm 26. I went through 5 years of competing in Division I wrestling. I've competed at sold-out MSG. I've competed in front of 30,000 people. A regular weekend for me at Penn State was competing in front of 10,000 people. So, you know, I had 130 matches in college, and all that experience is accumulating into what I'm going into now, right? The experience in an MMA fight is different than a wrestling match, but I've had a nice slow build of being in those high-pressure situations, whereas, you know, for Aaron, he was so young, right? Like, I got 7 years on him, basically, from where he started to where I'm starting, and it's a different level of maturity. You know, everybody matures a lot in that time, and so, you know, I'm happy for him with where he's at in his career, and I'm definitely learning from his mistakes. And but yeah, I mean, I'm ready to go and ready to continue to get better and improve and show what I can do.
Awesome, man. Well, I love everything I'm hearing from you. It seems like, you know, everything's in the right place, especially mentally. So I appreciate the time and looking forward to seeing this fight on Contender Series.
Absolutely. Thank you, man. Appreciate your time.